Welcome everyone to my character creation and perk poster guide to Fallout 4. Hello, my name is Macsen. During the course of this video I'm going to be discussing the perk poster that you use to level up your character within the game. But I'm not just going to be using the basic poster that's found within the game. I've actually made additions to the poster myself, which you can see here. So you may be wondering why I've made additions to the perk poster. Well, basically I wanted to categorize certain perks found within the poster so it will more easily enable me to level up my characters and more especially actually create certain character builds in the first place. And I think this might be pretty helpful to you as well. So I'm going to make this available for download. You can find a link to it within the description of this video. So hopefully this video will serve you as a guide to character creation and you'll be able to make much more interesting characters after having watched this video, and you'll have much more an idea about all of the perks found within the game. So I'll discuss much more later on about all of these symbols and characters I've added onto this poster, but you'll probably already be able to see certain patterns that will help you when designing your character builds when you're using this poster. Something else I'm going to use within this video is this poster here. So this actually shows each and every perk found within the game. If I highlight it, you can see all of the different perks and what all of those perks do. But during this video, apart from that, I'm also going to be mentioning about some character builds as well. And I intend to actually make more character build videos on the channel in future. But yeah, let's start off with a character creation guide. So before I mention more about character builds and also the additions I've made to the perk poster, I should mention the very basics with character creation within Fallout 4. So when you're actually creating your character, your main consideration is your special points, where you're going to invest them. You actually start out with 28 special points, but you can only actually invest 21 of those because you have to put a point in each and every one of these special stats, those being strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility and luck. So you start on level 1 basically. Now the reason why you might want to invest highly in a certain special stat is because you can only unlock certain perks if you have the right amount of special. So say for example I wanted to unlock the ninja perk, which you can see here right in the middle of the circle. I would need agility level 7 to be able to unlock that. And if I go to this screen here, you can see exactly what the first rank and future ranks of that perk does. Now the first rank you can actually pick straight away as soon as you have the right amount of special, as soon as you level up basically. So yeah, that's really great, and that's the case for every single perk within the game. As long as you qualify initially with the right amount of special, you can pick the first rank of all of the perks. But future ranks actually require you to level up a certain amount. It doesn't mention it on this perk poster sadly, but if you look within the game it does, and also on the Fallout wiki as well, it also mentions the levels that you need. So I'd say that your initial decision about where to invest your special points is probably the most important decision you'll make within the game. But having said that, there isn't supposed to be a level cap. So in actuality, if you play for a long enough time, you can actually gain every single perk within the game and also raise your specials to their maximum as well, 10 in each category. You can actually, when you're leveling up, decide to invest in a special rather than a perk to allow you future perks that you may not have been able to gain initially, or just because you want the bonuses from the special stats. So yeah, I would say that it's very important, your initial decision, but yeah, if you are a completionist and do want to play with a character that gets everything, it is possible. But it's going to take you a heck of a long time. Now because there is a way to gain every perk within the game, some people may actually want to start with a character that has a very high intelligence. Intelligence is the special that allows you to basically gain levels quicker. It affects how much experience points you get. So if you say for example started with an intelligence character of 10, you would gain levels very quickly compared to one that only starts with a single point in intelligence. Now you may not actually want to start with any of your special stats at 10 because there are bobbleheads within the game, and if they work as they used to, the special ones, then basically you gain an extra point in special depending on which one you picked up. For example, picked up a Charisma 1, you gain an extra point in your Charisma special. So that's a consideration that you may want to have with your characters, bobbleheads, and also the intelligence factor. There is actually another perk within the tree that allows you to gain extra experience. It happens to be this one here. This is called the Idiot Savant, and it's a very interesting perk. If you've played previous Fallout games, you may be aware that it was possible to create a stupid character. I believe this is the way to do it within Fallout 4. If you actually start with a very low intelligence character, you can actually get more out of this perk. You gain extra XP depending on which rank you have, and yeah, on your intelligence as well. There are also supposed to be extra dialogue options within the game for this as well. So this is definitely a character build that I'm sure many people will want to try out at some point. So I should mention these additions I've made to the perk posters. Let's start out with the first one at the top, so that's mods. I've added an M to the poster and also circled them in yellow. So this is pretty straightforward. Basically, these perks allow you to create mods within the game for weapons, for example. This one I've actually highlighted, which doesn't allow you to make mods, but is related to modding. So this is at level 5 of your intelligence. Let's take a look at it here. So this is Scrapper. Basically it allows you, well, it gives you extra resources when you scrap certain items. So this is very useful for modders. So that's why I've included it in that category. All the others, well, this one's Gun Nuts, so that's basic firearms in the main, I believe. That's science one. Let's check that. So that's yeah, literally science. Many of the perks actually have taken over from the old skills that were within previous Fallout games. There aren't any skills within Fallout 4. They've basically been rolled into one. This other one here, I believe that is an armor mod at strength 3. Strength 4 allows you to create melee weapons, and perception 5 that allows you to make certain explosive type weapons like Molotov cocktails, I believe. So if I highlight that here, Demolition Expert, you can see more details about that perk there. So all of those, one category basically. So moving on, damage is denoted by D. Basically this covers perks that do direct damage and also indirect damage as well. So a perk that does direct damage would be this one here, Iron Fist. Basically many of these perks actually have a number of different symbols and characters related to them. They do a variety of things. But if I go on to this chart here, you can see that that perk does direct damage via adding extra percentage amounts of damage to your punching attacks. So that's basically Power Fist, for example, that would work with. So yeah, damage is going to be a very frequent perk type that you're going to be picking for your characters, probably in the main. There are very many instances of damage perks within the perk poster. Now an indirect damage perk might be this one here. This one is strength 7. I believe it's called Steady Aim. So if I highlight here, basically this allows you to have a better accuracy with hip-fired weapons. So it's kind of indirect because it's not directly increasing your damage, but indirectly. Yeah, there are a number of those as well. There's Quick Hands that allows you to reload quicker, so in effect do more damage. And there's actually Ricochet down here at level 10 of luck as well. So that allows enemies to be killed if they miss, I believe. So that is in effect an indirect damage perk. You can see I've added a D there as well. Next on the list is Weapon Speciality, and I've actually highlighted these perks with a purple magenta circle as well. So these perks affect a certain type of weapon. So like with Iron Fist, that affected punching attacks. This one here, which I've forgotten the name of, that affects melee attacks. That happens to be called Big Leagues. Then we've got the Heavy Gunner perk, I believe it's called, at strength level 5. That happens to affect big guns. We've got in the perception column Rifleman. that affects non-automatic rifle type weapons. This one here, Sniper, that affects scope weapons. This one is Gunslinger, that's pistols, and below it is Commando in the agility column. Mr. Sandman is a perk that many people will be familiar with. This actually affects silent weapons as well as allowing you to kill opponents that are happening to be asleep. If I highlight that there, you can see more details on that. What else do we have? I believe that pretty much covers it, apart from this one here, which is an intelligence column. I believe that is called Nuclear Physicist. So I believe this allows extra damage via fusion cores and also atomic weapons, like probably the Fat Man, I assume. So all of this weapon specialty type affects certain weapons, as I mentioned, and in the main it's basically just doing extra damage, although there are the odd extra effects that these perks have as well, which I've covered with other symbols basically here. You can see that, for example, melee, which I'll discuss later on, is a blue square symbol, so those perks happen to be melee perks. So the next perk category is V for VATS, and that is of course the ability to slow down time within Fallout 4 and select your shots, go after certain parts of your opponent in the main. There are actually perks though which allow you to do other things as well within VATS. It's not just about doing damage to your enemies. Now VATS actually appears throughout much of this perk poster. I've made a lot of additions adding V all over the place, but there are 3 key special stats that actually specialize in it, and you find a lot of the V perks within those columns. One of them happens to be Perception, probably the most important stat if you're creating a character that uses VATS a lot. So this increases accuracy within VATS if you have a high perception, and you find certain perks within this column as well, like the one at the bottom. That if I go on to the perk poster, this one, Concentrated Fire, so that gives you extra accuracy within VATS, a very, very useful perk if you happen to have a very VATS dominated build. Agility also is used for VATS as well. That gives you extra action points. The more action points you have, the more actions you can make while in VATS. Luck is also used within VATS as well for the critical hits, and there are a lot of VATS perks within this column as well. There are also VATS perks that don't do damage to opponents, believe it or not. So this one in the intelligence column, which doesn't have a lot of VATS perks, this is called VANS, which if I go to this poster, basically it gives you, allows you to see where your quest target is if you happen to pick that perk. There are other ones like Awareness, so you can see where your opponents happen to be weak as well. So that's not a direct damage perk, but that's definitely very useful as well. So that covers VATS. So resistance and health is pretty straightforward. Basically it gives you extra levels of resistance and health, and as you can see here there's a pattern. Most of those perks happen to be within the endurance column, and endurance itself actually adds to your health also. So if you want extra health, having a high level of endurance may be a pretty good idea. So let's take a look at a perk or two. So the first one, endurance level 1, happens to be the toughness perk. So you gain extra damage resistance, and if you have high levels you can actually gain even more amounts of damage resistance later on. Not all of the resistance perks happen to be within the endurance column though. There is 1 or 2 somewhere else as well. There's one here. This is at level 7 in perception. That is the refractor perk, I believe. So that gives you extra energy resistance. So that could be useful if you're coming up against a lot of energy inflicting opponents. And to be honest, there aren't many other resistance perks anywhere else. I've added this perk here. This is level 7 in intelligence, and that is called Chemist. So that allows chems to last longer. I've added that because I assume certain chems would give you extra damage resistance. So that would be useful and used for resistance in effect. The next perk category is U for utility and useful. This is a perk type that happens to be quite frequent throughout the perk poster editions I've made here. So these are useful perks basically that cover a lot of different variations on what they do. I've actually highlighted a couple of very important ones in red, those being this one here you can find at perception level 4. This happens to be the locksmith perk, which takes over from the lock pick skill, I believe, from previous Fallout games. So that's certainly been a very important skill in previous games, that's why I've highlighted it. And the other one which I highlighted as well happened to be hacker. So this is when you're hacking into terminals. So that's probably a very important pick as well. So that's both of these are probably picks that most people would want to pick. That's the reason why I've highlighted them. There are other very useful perks as well that you may want to consider when creating your characters, and not so useful perks that I've still added into this perk category. They happen to be quite low down in the required amount of special you need. So there's a few on the front row here. There's pickpocketing. It's kind of almost a roleplay perk as well, if you want to be a thief type character. Let's go into this tree here so you can see them in more detail. There's cap collector, so that's useful in vendors and stores. There's fortune finder, if you want extra money, that's in luck. Scrounger as well, that's for gaining extra ammunition. So all of those perks, very useful, or at least partially useful, that you may want to consider. The next perk category is surreal or playstyle. These basically affect how you play the game. They're very roleplay type related perks. If you're going to get the most out of these perks, you kind of have to change the way you play perhaps. So that's why I've added this as a perk category. You can see that they happen to be mainly in the bottom half of the perk poster. So if we take a look at this one here, this happens to be Cannibal, which you can find at level 8 of endurance. So basically this allows you to eat mortal flesh, and the future ranks allow you to eat ghouls or super mutants and gain significant amounts of health. So that's very much a roleplay or playstyle perk. There's another one here at level 6 of perception. I believe that's night person. So to get the most out of this perk, you would actually have to basically do most of your actions at night to gain the bonuses to intelligence and perception. So that would definitely affect your playstyle pretty dramatically if you want to get the most out of that perk. And yeah, basically all of these perks do affect your playstyle in one way or another. Charisma is very important when it comes to the next perk category, that is companion perks and also passive or pacifying perks. So basically charisma affects your dialogue. You're able to persuade more easily if you have a high amount of charisma, and also affects the prices that you can agree upon when discussing trades via vendors. It's not just this perk that affects that. The perks found within the charisma tree are actually all related, or almost all related, to companion or passive perks, and you don't find them anywhere else within the special columns, so just within here. So let's take a look at some of them. So the first one we'll take a look at is Animal Friend. You can find that at level 5 in Charisma. So what this does is basically pacify animals. And if you gain future ranks when you level up enough, if you select them, then you are able to actually direct those animals against opponents of yours and even give them specific commands. So it's quite a useful perk that potentially, and there's a few perks within the Charisma column that are very similar to that. Wasteland Whisperer is basically the same, but I believe that works against creatures. And Intimidation right at the bottom, level 10 in Charisma, you can use that on human opponents, so that could be very powerful potentially. With that perk you can actually gain a boost to it via Lady Killer. I believe there's a male version of this perk as well. You can see that it mentions for the 2nd and 3rd ranks that you gain a bonus to pacifying with the Intimidation rank there, perk there. There's other perks within the Charisma column that may interest you as well. Basically you can buff your companions, or even yourself actually, The Lone Wanderer perk here, let's take a look at that. So that basically, if you don't decide to have a companion, will buff your player character, so you're able to carry more weight and also do more damage. But if you want better companions, a perk such as Attack Dog would help very much so. That also affects VATS, but your Attack Dog can hold on to enemies and also even inflicts biting damage or crippling damage later on when you level up those ranks. So I've actually represented the last 4 perk categories via certain symbols. You can see them here. So they are melee, sneak, sprint and weight. These feature less heavily within the perk poster than many of the previous categories I've mentioned. Let's start out with discussing melee, or melee I should pronounce it as. So they mainly feature within the strength special column. We've got the Iron Fist and Big League perks, of course, which affect melee, and also they are found within the agility column as well. There's a couple in there, ninja, and there's this perk here. Let's check that out. So this is found at level 9 in agility, a very high level. So this affects your melee damage. The further you are away from opponents, the better you do in terms of damage when blitzing. It's only used in VATS though, so it's a very specific perk that not everyone is going to want, certainly. Now strength actually affects your melee heavily as well. If you want to do a lot of melee damage, then you really should invest highly in strength. Sneak is the next perk category, and that's found mainly within the agility special column, and in fact agility actually increases your ability to sneak itself. So if you want to be good at sneaking, you probably want to invest highly in agility. It allows you to remain undetected basically, and allows you also to initiate sneak attacks which do a heck of a lot of damage, especially if you pick certain perks like the ninja one which I showed earlier. Let's check out some of these perks in the agility column. So yeah, ninja does a huge amount of extra damage. It's definitely a perk that I would highly consider taking, especially if I was playing at higher difficulty levels. This perk here, sneak, literally sneak is called. It's kind of a replacement to the old sneak skill within the game, so you can see it gives you a increased chance of remaining undetected the more ranks you get in it. And in fact the highest level rank allows you to lose distant enemies entirely. There's another sneak perk in here somewhere, isn't there? Yeah, there is. There's Mr. Sandman. So that affects weapons that are silenced. I believe that covers melee weapons as well, so arguably I should have included that as a melee skill. So that's a sneak perk, and there's also one perk that affects your sneak, and that's found within perception, which we've seen before, night person. So you can see the second rank actually allows you to have night vision at night when you're sneaking. So that could be a very useful perk potentially if sneaking is your thing. Sprint is a new ability that's been added in Fallout 4. It's a really welcome addition as well. Anyone who had played Skyrim and then gone back to playing previous Fallout games, it was something that was very noticeable, not being able to run at all fast. There was a way to actually mod it into the game via mods off the Nexus website, for example, but even that mod had a few issues, to be honest. But if you want to make the most out of Sprint within Fallout 4, you actually need action points, and to get action points, high level of agility will help you with that. You do have a certain amount of action points to start, but increasing your agility special points will gain you even more. And also there's endurance. Basically the drain, the amount of action points spent when sprinting is reduced the more endurance special points you happen to have as well. There are perks that make use out of the sprint ability, and ones which are kind of indirectly affect it as well. So let's take a look at agility level 5. So this is action boy or girl. So this basically allows you to regenerate action points quicker or more quickly. So if you sprint a lot, you'll be able to get your action points back more quickly. There's other perks in here as well. This one at level 6 in agility is moving target. So this allows you to gain extra damage and energy resistance while sprinting, and also sprinting costs fewer action points with the 3rd rank. And there's a very special perk at strength level 10 here. I believe that's the last sprint perk within the perk poster. Pain Train. So basically this allows you to run into enemies while wearing power armor, doing massive amounts of damage to them. So this is a very roleplay, playstyle related perk. Weights is pretty straightforward, so the stronger your character is, the more you'll be able to carry, the more you'll be able to lump around basically. So there are a few perks within the perk tree that you may want to pick up if you want to be able to carry more things. The most important one of these is at strength level 6, so that's been in previous games. That is Strong Back, so you actually can carry more, and also there's a couple of extra abilities on the later ranks as well, so when you're over encumbered you can use action points, and also you can fast travel. There are other strength related perks within the charisma column. I believe we've seen one of those already, the Lone Wanderer one. But there's one here at level 8 of charisma, so let's check that out. So that is inspirational. So this in the main affects your companions really. This is great if you want your companion to do more damage, but also at level 3 it also allows them to carry more. So that's very useful potentially also. So I've mentioned what all of the different symbols and characters mean on the perk poster. So let's actually use all of these newly created perk categories to actually come up with a character build. So I'd quite like to focus on something that's new to Fallout 4. So the sprint ability, let's start out with that. So let's build a character that really uses that to as much as effect as possible. So if I'm going to do that, let's create a character that focuses on endurance. That's really needed for sprinting characters, and also agility, since that gives extra action points. So I'm going to want to invest highly in them. There's actually a couple of perks that are related to sprint within the agility special column. There's also this really amazing Pain Train perk within the strength tree, so if possible I wouldn't mind creating a character that uses that. Now investing highly in all of those 3 special columns means that I'm not going to have any special points left over for investing in intelligence, which is quite a drawback. So maybe I would want to consider investing in luck a bit to pick up the Idiot Savant perk that gives extra experience points, so we could actually level up at a decent rate. So I'd have a really low intelligence to make use out of that the most. And since we're investing very highly in endurance as well, maybe I would want to pick up the Cannibal perk. That's a perk to certainly build a character around. So I think this character could be called perhaps the Stupid Hungry Cannibal. He's in a rush to chew off your face, something along those lines. So basically, let's add up all of these special points, try and figure out a character. So first of all, strength 10, and we have 28 points, remember, to initially spend on special points. Let's only invest 1 point in perception, so that's 11. We need 8 in endurance, that's 19. Another point in charisma, that's 20. Another point in intelligence, that's 21. I would want maybe 6 points in agility, that's 27 already, and another 5 in luck, so that's what was it, 32? So I'm 4 points over already. You can see this is going to be quite difficult even with the help of this poster. So I'm going to have to maybe get rid of a few points here or there, or maybe plan around actually leveling up some of my special points instead of perks later on. What I could do, because of the bobblehead situation within the game, is actually maybe start out with lesser in certain special categories and then hope to pick up bobbleheads. So maybe we could start out with a strength of 9, so that's 31 points. I could lower, maybe I didn't have to take the cannibalism perk straight away, so maybe start out with a point less than that, so 7 there, so that's 30 points. And perhaps a couple points less in agility, and maybe I could level it up once, so that would be 28 points. I'd probably want to start out with 5 points straight away with the Idiot Savant, because we have such low intelligence. It's the only, I'd probably pick that as my first pick, so I could get extra XP straight away. I think this build would benefit from more of a melee or even punch-in type approach because it lacks the intelligence to pick up gun nut, for example, to modify certain firearms, and also the science perk as well to modify more energy type weapons. Because of the high strength though, we do have the ability to modify melee weapons, so definitely a melee focus may be the way to go. We even have the ability to modify armor, which will help very much so when we pick up a suit of power armor for that perk. I'd say this Cannibal build, all in all, is probably a very fun build that I certainly intend to try out at some stage, but it's definitely not a build for everyone. I imagine one perk that many people will want to create a character build around happens to be at level 6 Charisma. That is the Local Leader perk. The Local Leader perk basically gives you more options to do with settlements. You can now create settlements in Fallout 4, which you didn't used to be able to do in previous games. So settlements, the Local Leader perk allows you to create supply lines between your settlements, and also the second rank allows you to create stores and also workstations within those settlements, I believe. So we may want to try and figure how we can achieve the most out of that by picking other perks related to it. So I think the modding perks would be a very good idea, the ones that are highlighted in yellow. So I would want to get all of those, and perhaps since well, we're going to invest pretty highly in intelligence if we're going to go up to level 6 at least here, so maybe we would want a really intelligent character. So this is a person who creates homesteads, perhaps homestead gal or girl. So yeah, I think that's the basic premise to this character build. So let's start out with strength of 4, so it's a 4 points invested in that. Let's pick up the perception modding ability as well to create grenades or whatever, so that's 9. Let's have a point in endurance, that's 10. We'll have another 6 into charisma, so that's 16. So we need another 6 in intelligence, that's 22. And well, let's add another 3, is it? So that's 25. And a point in agility and a point in luck, so that's 26, 27. We have 1 point left. I could invest it into charisma, and maybe we could swap the intelligence out to pick up those really interesting charisma perks perhaps, or maybe just invest in special points later on for certain levels, or we could of course knock back on some of these mods for the other special points I've invested in and hope to pick up bobbleheads later on. Because settlements are such a unique new feature within Fallout 4, I'm sure many people want to enhance them as much as possible, so the Local Leader perk will become a firm favourite with many people when deciding on creating their character builds and what perks they want to have. Because there are so many VATS type perks within the game, there are going to be lots and lots of VATS builds, I imagine, floating around on YouTube. And I'm going to make some myself as well, and get round to making character build videos. So you could probably concentrate, perhaps the straightforward VATS build would center maybe around sniper. Perception is going to be the most important stats when it comes to making VATS builds, almost definitely. But there are other ways you could go about it. You could create melee builds that really focus on VATS as well. So there's that perk down here, the Blitz perk, that could definitely be used with a melee VATS build. Investing in luck is going to be very important in a lot of VATS builds as well. So picking up Idiot Savant, for example, that may be a way to go rather than investing in intelligence if you do want a VATS build. And actually making a build that centers around not using VATS may be a very good idea as well. To be honest, in previous Fallout games I haven't used VATS all that much, so depending on how good a job they've done with it, I'll be using it a lot or not using it all that much. But I'll do builds for both VATS builds and non-VATS builds in the future build videos I'm going to make. I'm actually going to have to call it an end of the video at this point. I've lost track of time. But in future videos I will concentrate much more on character builds, but hopefully I've put you on a path to creating some interesting characters with what I've mentioned in this video already. If you want to actually download this poster, of course you can go into the description of this video and find a link to it in there. If you distribute the poster, please leave my details on the bottom of the poster though, And if you make any changes to it, please make people aware of the changes you make. But apart from that, if you enjoyed this video, please help me out by giving this video a like and even sharing it as well. That would be very helpful. If you have any comments or requests, please use the comment section. I respond to comments no matter how old a video is. If you like this video and want to see future content like it, please consider subscribe to the channel. Check out my homepage, see if there's something else on the channel that you may be interested in. I actually concentrate mainly on strategy games, but if this video does well, then I'll definitely consider doing a lot more content like it. I may even do a Fallout 4 Let's Play. I don't own a $1,000 graphics card though, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to play and record at a decent graphics level required for YouTube yet, but I'll know more in the first week or so of release. If you really like my content and you want to help out the channel, please consider becoming a patron of mine. I'll leave a link to my Patreon page in the comment section and the description, and it's all over my channel on the homepage, for example. Even the smallest of donations massively helps out, so I'm really grateful to those of you who become my patron. I should actually thank my existing patrons as well. You've been a huge help, so thank you, patrons. Right, I believe that covers just about everything, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.